I want to quickly summarize where we are at the moment. According to current research, pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation, just like, for example, heterosexuality. No one chooses to be a pedophile. No one can cease being one. The difference between pedophilia and other sexual orientations is that living out this sexual orientation will end
or in the comments
in a
below.
disaster.
Folks, my name is Miranda. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and sex therapist in Erie, Pennsylvania. And today I want to talk about minor attracted persons. And I want to talk about minor attracted persons because they are probably the most vilified population of folks in our culture. And most folks are making incorrect assumptions about them without actually knowing much about them. And those assumptions create harm.
They avoid.
Oh.
It attacks the pedophile OCD or POCD. We're going to go through what that is, why someone would have it, and what the treatment is. Behaviors and many others. So imagine this. You're sitting in a restaurant and you look over and you notice there's a play place. You decide, hey, that's fun. You're just watching all the kids play. They're going up the slides, they're going down the slides, they're going over to the side, and they're playing with the little bells, and they're just playing. And all of a sudden you get this thought, did I just look at those kids in a creepy way? Your brain starts to doubt, it starts to question. Why would you look at them that way? Do other people have these thoughts? Well, I was just staring at them, that must mean something. What's wrong with me? Was I physically attracted to them? I can't be attracted to them. But why would I have these thoughts if I didn't have these thoughts? What does it even mean that I'm having these thoughts right now? I'm starting to feel anxious about it. Anxiety is supposed to tell me that I'm in danger. Does this mean that I'm a pedophile? This is an example of somebody who struggles with pedophile OCD. It's scary. They're having these intrusive thoughts that they can't understand.
He's a swell guy. Oh my God. Hey, human family, it's Darren. I've got an excellent show for you guys today. Today, we're going to take a look at how narcissists get us to break our boundaries, to be culpable in our own self-destruction by using a secret weapon called diversity, inclusion, and tolerance. This is a hidden secret weapon that will ruin our society if we don't understand it. They use these tactics in the macro, in the micro, in their personal relationships with people just like yourself, and government, special interest groups, and marginalized communities that are full of narcissists and evil use it as a tactic to get everyone to loosen their boundaries and to be tolerant of things that we should never be tolerant of. So let's do what we do and dive deep.
The human mind has no limitations. It can take the pain of abuse and turn it into power. It's time to move on, baby. Gotta be a warrior in a world full of evil. Welcome to Fully Alive Again. Let's go.
The French philosopher Voltaire stated, "Those who can make you believe in absurdities can make you commit atrocities." Powerful, powerful stuff. Amazing insight. You see, our boundaries start from our beliefs and our values. We are currently living in a world where individuals, people, citizens are so weak and frightened and afraid of being labeled and considered of not being nice or congenial, not having very good decorum, not being very modern and progressive. So they don't speak the truth. They accept absurdities day in and day out. And cowards die 1,000 deaths over and over again each day. The most necessary prerequisite for living, in my opinion, is courage. The world of psychology never talks about the importance of courage because it doesn't want you to be courageous. It wants you to be full of intellectual clutter so they can convince you to believe anything. I really believe that the world of psychology and a good psychologist can convince an average person to believe anything and get you to ponder, well, maybe I am being a bit old-fashioned, maybe I am stuck in the old ways, that makes a lot of sense. People are people. We're all God's children, and religion can do the same thing. You see, we've already seen what's happening right now, what they're trying to do with pedophilia, as the clips that I showed you at the beginning of this episode, trying to make that a normal personality disorder. So, we can all go out with the local pedophilias and, go to Topgolf and have a beer. They've already done this with narcissists. If you look through the history of the world, and on every inch of this earth, when narcissists were discovered, they were dealt with, obfuscated, sent out into the bush by themselves in Africa, kicked out of the tribe, whatever, marked with a label on the forehead. Am I saying we should do stuff like that? Seeing what I've seen? I don't know. I'm just being honest. Would I be the one that wanted to implement that? No, not unless we had 100% fail-proof way of knowing when we are dealing with these demonic, evil lunatics. They hurt children, they hurt people. But I don't want to go off on a tangent on that. My point here is that we've already witnessed psychologists and the DSM and the way that we deal with narcissists, giving them a pass, making them part of the everyday narrative and the everyday treatment like a sentient human being. You can see it on podcasts and all over the internet. And again, when I say narcissist, you guys, I'm not talking about someone who's opinionated, someone who's ambitious, someone who's even conceited and thinks a lot of themselves and spends a lot of time in the mirror. I could give a shit about that. I'm talking about people that are parasitic, that wake up in the morning and need to hurt someone. People who are trying to destroy other people's lives. People who are gaslighting people, manipulating people, mind-effing people, trying to destroy their lives and do it slowly and get people to kill themselves, or they do it themselves. I'm talking about sheer, pure, evil, destructive people that could never be a part of a sane, productive, healthy society. And they're chameleon, they're stealth. Everything I'm talking about is insidious. So I'm not talking about someone who's conceited or opinionated or selfish. None of that. I'm talking about parasitic monsters. We've already allowed that type of energy to be considered to be normal. As long as the decorum's there, he's a really nice fella. He's really articulate. She's really nice. They all have this. It's beyond belief. But like Voltaire said, if they can get you to accept absurdities, they can get you to commit atrocities. So the next tolerance that we're going into the phase right now is with pedophilia, child molesters, the most vulgar creatures on earth. But they're just misunderstood. You don't understand them, Darren. They're really good people. That's not all that they are. He likes to bowl. She crochets and he plays chess. She does tap dancing on the weekend. It's beyond belief. It is beyond belief. But you see, intellectual clutter, word salad, big fancy words, hypotheses, strategies, all of the shit that makes you inner reflective on yourself instead of looking at the reality of what's in front of you, erodes your ability to think and to stand up and make decisions and not be agreeable. We have a disease right now that's infectious in our society, and it will not end pretty, and that's the inability to disagree. The inability to not be agreeable. The inability to stand up. This kind of stuff is so bad, so putrid, so disgusting, and so disappointing that there are no words. But you bet the DSM and the psychologists are going to work it out for us. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But no one has any boundaries because it takes courage. It takes strong beliefs to set boundaries. They will tell you anything. All of this stems from the inability to stand up. You have to learn how to not be liked, you guys. And I know I'm ranting here, but you have to be able to have people hate your fucking guts in your own family, your neighbors, your friends, whomever, to have good boundaries. If you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings and somebody not liking you, you're in trouble. All of us has sentient human beings, has codependents, has people who have been hurt by narcissists. Know that we had weak boundaries. Know that somewhere in our life we became weak to that woman or that man, to that mother, that father, that neighbor, that boss. Do you really think becoming more like a psychologist is going to give you a backbone? Understanding more psychology? And don't misconstrue what I'm saying. We've got to go in there and talk to that inner child. We've got to deal with our shame and some of the stuff that happened to us. But it is not tied together with the bowl of shit that psychologists are trying to shove down our throat these days by telling us to be tolerant, to be inclusive with everything. Be agreeable with everything. Oh, he talks aggressively. He must be a narcissist. And you notice how nice and the polite decorum everyone had that I showed in the clips? How congenial they were and how polite and civil and how caring they are. I just want you to understand how bad the pedophiles are suffering. You guys, for the next generation of sentient human beings, people, we have got to get some backbone. Maybe this is why God put us through this, is to stand up. This is some dark energy in these people, and they are going for peak slips. They are not going to stop. I really get why they want to get rid of masculine energy. Because they can't do anything against it except destroy it in future generations because they can't combat it. Because just hearing this shit makes me want to hurt people that are talking about it. I'm not advocating violence. I'm ranting here. I'm not saying to go out and do anything violent to these people. I'm just being honest that when I hear people talking about giving people a license to hurt kids and caring about the people who hurt kids and who are parasitic and go out after kids, it puts a fuel in me that just lights my on fire. And I know every man I know, every real man I know that feels the same way. How far are you going to allow people to destroy your life, to suck the energy out of you, to try to make you insane, not only on the micro level, but in the macro level? How much bullshit are you going to take in the public square? How much absurdities are you going to tolerate without laughing? You can even do it politely and just laugh and say, you're full of shit. You're a freak. You're an idiot. Oh, but that wouldn't be nice. And we really wanna teach kindness and all. Kindness will ruin your life. And you know that. That's why we should be screaming this out to the public. Just look at how far this stuff goes.
And this one is a doozy. Journalist Tori Shepherd has written a provocative article calling for a major change in the way society deals with pedophiles. Now, she asks, if people are born straight or gay, is it possible that pedophiles can't help being what they are?
You see, one of the first things that you have to ask is, how did this get on the air coming from America to another country? And how is this on radio shows, talk shows, and definitely on university campuses? Who initiated this discussion? When did pedophiles become such a major concern in the world? There's only one place this kind of study and information would come out of, and that's the academia world of psychology. Psychology is full of narcissists, and therefore a lot of it is evil. The number one podcast, YouTube channel, has a narcissist running the show. There's not a doubt in my mind. These people are everywhere. So if you just sit back and ponder, why is this the narrative? Think of all of the problems in the world. Why is pedophilia and pedophile sick MFs who even prison inmates knows how they should be dealt with? Why would this become a topic? Because Luciferian agents of chaos. Where did it germinate from? Just ponder that. Where did it germinate from?
Recent research out of America suggests pedophiles have faulty wiring in the brain, and instead of having a protective response towards children, they have a sexual one. Tori says helping pedophiles control themselves instead of just despising them could save many kids from being abused.
Now weigh the pros and the cons of making pedophilia a normal person who just has a personality disorder in society. And how many kids would that really help? How many uncles would that stop from molesting their nieces and nephews? How many fathers, mothers would that stop from molesting their children? This is the BS of psychology. How many people are going to go, how many pedophiles are going to go down to the local psychologist and get some help? If you're attracted to something, I enjoy sex like most human beings. Do you think someone's going to go somewhere that's going to turn off their sexual drive? This is the absurdness, the craziness that these crazy makers make under the umbrella as experts. Well, they got a PhD. What do you got, Darren? I got common effing sense is what I got.
Joe?
It's a really, really interesting topic and just one that is so explosive. I have a few issues with this. To start with, I think it's always very problem. I'm sure I do think there's a pathology behind pedophilia. I think some people are born that way, and I think that they actually think it's normal. But the idea that we should somehow, sympathise with that, or that we should see that as them just having, an illness or whatever. There are plenty of people who might have similar urges or impulses which are just as disgraceful. It might be people who have rape fantasies, people who have the urge to kill people and derive pleasure from taking life.
Is that different to sexual desire, though?
Yes, it is, because I think when you're equating something that is actually completely perverse to something like a question of whether you're born straight or gay or bi or whatever, I think that's very problematic. I don't think you want to ever get in the position where you're saying, well, you know, this is a medical disorder, this is just a normal
and it's not.
thing.
And I mean, I
not.
see this and it makes me really boil with rage. It makes me sick to the stomach because how can you, being a pedophile, you are a deviant. That's not something that you are born with. I think basically they should just be locked up. I have absolutely no sympathy for people with paedophilic tendencies. I have sympathy for everyone. I'm a bleeding heart, but I'm sorry, pedophiles, no, we don't need to understand your psychology or any of those sorts of things. What you do is despicable, and there's a difference.
We do need to
between-
understand,
Can I just finish?
Jessica. We do
There is
need
a-
to understand.
Well,
As Albert Einstein said, keep it simple. Simplicity. Life is not that difficult. A sick person that is sexually attracted to little girls and little boys and wants to violate them doesn't need to be dissected, and we all need to study it in the 8th grade, 9th grade, university, mom, dad, whatever. They need to be punished, and preventative measures need to be implemented in society. Everything sounds good in theory in an intellectual's head. Sounds good on paper. But the practicality and the implementation of these types of crazy theories and the hypotheses that they have simply don't work. It's overthinking. It's intellectual clutter. And you watch this lady, has she already initiated, and she'll continue to why you need to ponder this. And this needs to be a part of society. There are things that simply don't need to be tolerated. We know good and bad. See, that's the evil. That's the word salad. That's the crazy making. Let's discuss this and let me put my word salad into it. So what was once bad is now gray because life's complicated. Life is not complicated. Psychologists, intellectuals are complicated. You can differentiate quite easily what is good and what is bad without the expertise of the village intellectual demon.
no, I think they need to be locked up and throw away the key, and I never want to see them again. And I think it is very dangerous for this article to suggest that there is a similarity between
The research
being
suggests.
born straight or born gay and being born a pedophile.
That's right,
Because
that plays a bit.
pedophilia, being
Two different things,
you're a deviant, you're a criminal.
Okay, have you finished?
I have, but it's okay to finish.
Yes, fine.
Thank you for letting me
But
do
it's
that.
interesting research, and I think it's worth thinking about because it suggests that left-handed people are more likely to be pedophiles.
3 times as
I have two
likely.
children that are left-handed, so I read a lot about left-handed people.
And like always, the narcissist tries to triangulate by saying left-handed people and bringing in information that I believe is not relevant. It's just marketing tactics, propaganda tactics, but it's always under the pretense of doing good. It's always under the pretense of making you better, making the world a better place, which is 100% erroneous.
And, and they think it's something to do with the wiring of the brain, and that it, not the left-handedness, but the pedophile tendencies, and it occurs in the womb. Now, look, I don't like pedophiles either, and I abhor what they do. But if you look at this article really closely and then start doing some research, you'll find the Sexual Assault Centre's report that when people ring up asking for help because they have these urges, there's no publicly funded courses or programs for them, and they have to turn them away. They can't help them. So that tells me that we need to really have a look at what makes a pedophile, and is there some way of correcting the behaviour, and why don't we have people to help them if they ring a sexual assault centre? We really
listened
need to
a-
explore it.
A really interesting radio interview, and it was a young boy who started having urges towards his younger sister from the age of 14, and he couldn't find anyone, he couldn't talk to anyone to say, what do I do? He was so ashamed of himself, and there are now sort of online groups that where, they do support each other because they know it's wrong. But you're right, you can't just go lock them up, throw away the key. You've go, well, if
I
you're
think
asking,
you can.
if you're asking for help, you need to have, you know, some sort of humanity and go, well, okay, well, how are we going to do it?
But
Yeah, how can we address it and turn this problem?
Spread
How can we
awareness
stop
about
this
it, yeah.
happening? That's
Yeah.
really the issue.
But at the
Chemical
same
castration
time, this
might
same
work.
article, which quotes the research, talks about a group called virtuous pedophiles. I'm sorry, that does not go together. So I'd put a big question mark over the research that this person's relying on.
Do you see the narcissism here, you guys, operating on a larger scale? These organizations, these movements are demonic. They're full of dark energy, agents of chaos trying to create chaos in the world using diversity, inclusivity, and tolerance as their vehicle in order to get you to delete your values, your common sense, your sense of decency, and to melt away your boundaries, making you feel guilty of not being nice and progressive and not caring about the feelings of others. Those pedophiles have feelings. They're people too. Stop calling them pedophiles. It isn't fair. Get away from me with that bullshit. But you watch. Just like the watering down of narcissism, just like all the vast categories that are, in my opinion, more intellectual clutter when you truly break down what narcissists are. And just like we've watered down and made narcissists a normal part of society that just have personality disorders, forget about the victims and the shit they cause. The way that we've watered that down, the DSM will one day in the very near future, and I'm giggling so I don't go mad, will have pedophilia as a personality disorder, a sexual preference. This is the push. And if this doesn't stir your blood up and awaken you to the intellectual clutter that psychologists in the world of academia are pushing, then I don't know what will. And I'm not saying all psychologists are like this because that would be disingenuous. But the vast majority are trying to whittle away masculinity because it's one of the only things that they cannot defeat. So they can defeat it by tearing it down generation after generation so they can push through things like this. Because any masculine man on earth will never submit to this kind of craziness. That I know for sure. So please read between the lines and stop worrying about being nice and liked and agreeable. Say what you need to say it your way, and then move on. But don't be a doormat for anyone, no organization, and no human being. Stand up! All right, you guys, I appreciate you coming through. I've got nothing but love for you. Please leave your suggestions and comments and thoughts below. Hit the like button. Share this video with others. And I'll catch you on the next video. Until then, peace. Be well.
No tears, no fears. Fully alive again after 6 years.